they're going to have to prove it first before they earn something like, you know, be able to go up against Immortals and have it be a match of the day. Thatcher going to be banned out early on here. That's going to be by INTZ as they are starting on defense.
Now, coming to Cafe will be more of an even playing field for these teams, because Immortals were not really as proficient a team when Cafe was still in the map pool. They came into their own after it had been removed, and the map pool had been condensed from 9 down to 7. A Maverick ban coming out as well, because you know with Thatcher on the board, Maverick is a great tool to be able to stop any possible denial on the other side. Kite, Electroclaws, Bandit, batteries, mute jammers, etc.
Yeah.
Mira will also join, and well, if it's a typical Latin America matchup, this should be an Echo ban here coming out from INTZ.
There it is.
And there it is.
So, very common bans so far. The Thatcher Maverick combination is going to make getting those electronics behind reinforced walls a little bit difficult, but there is soft destruction in most places. You just got to find it. So you'll be able to work around those bans, though they are going to definitely impact the attack. The Mira and Echo ban is just common stuff. You don't really need to work. You don't need to work around that because you already plan around it if you're most teams. So the fact that we are playing on Cafe is going to be, I think, a big boon for INTZ. It is going to, you know, close that gap a little bit. New map, new rules. Both teams starting from, starting from the beginning, you could say. And there you go. That's a good thing to bring this into being a little bit more close of a match. Interesting thing, Gridlock. And I think there was a Lion. Maybe he switched off of it last second, but maybe they six-picked it. But either way, Gridlock being brought, which is quite interesting. And we've been talking about how she is useful at locking down those staircases. And in the case of Cafe, the staircases are integral to your attack. Controlling them is very important. And Gridlock is going to be, I think, very good at doing just that. You're going to throw one of her Gridlocks on the red stairs, and then, hey, nobody can flank you anymore. And if they do, you'll know about it.
Gridlock here is a very potent operator, and I think the very first time that we saw her get used to great effect was actually G2 using her on this map. It was Uno who was running with the AUG variant, and obviously has access to the SAW as well, the LMG, should it be used, but who knows what Navi's is going to be running as the primary loadout there for Gridlock. You've got the M249, very same gun that is being used by Gridlock, possibly. A little bit of changes, of course, in the hands of the Capitao.
Yeah, and Uno used it, and now everybody's using it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily something he invented per se, but it is something that has become into, popularity or on the front of a lot of these maps. I mean, she's not just useful on Cafe, she is useful on a lot of different... If you have any map that has one particular flank route that is very common to see, Gridlock's useful, period. She's like, again, she's like a more obvious Nomad, but much less risk-reward going on, much more just pure flat-out reward for the attack. Because if the defenders find the air jab from Nomad, shoot it with a silenced weapon, they can flank you and you might not know about it at all. Whereas with Gridlock, you have to broadcast your intention as a defender in order to get past that Gridlock if it's used correctly. So that's the trade-off. But of course, she's less actually practical at getting kills from her flank watch as much as she is better at giving you the information on the flank. It's kind of complicated, but yeah. So Immortals, they've spent a lot of time on Repel waiting to push into these red stairs, and they're finally going to go for that drop. And King going to open up the wall into Piano, and he will have to contest Duds, who's playing over by that pixel spot.
Boar isn't really in a position to deny that with an Electric Claw, as he probably wouldn't do that. You're likely going to use that somewhere else, maybe even on the walls inside a Piano. That might be in back bar storage, and that exactly appears to be where Boar is playing for the time being. And those Electric Claws, coupled with whether he has the AUG or the shotgun in his hands, he has the AUG actually. So coupled with that, he's going to be able to play at much closer range. The AUG is not a bad gun now that it's been buffed a couple times. It's in a position where it could presumably replace the DMR shotgun-esque style weapon that he has, even though that thing's just absolutely bananas.
It is. It is so good.
It is not a shotgun.
It's a DMR that packs a punch, and in the right hands it's very powerful. But Boar's hands holding on to that AUG gonna get the first kill of the round in the match.
And that one packs a punch as well, and it's Navi's taken down. He might not even been able to get any of those track stingers out, and because of this, we're not going to see the true effect of a gridlock on the board. Additionally, that means that Cyber is going to be the only person left on Immortals' side that has smokes available.
The fact that MKing has been able to make his way onto the cocktail balcony without being contested is absolutely huge. He has a great angle here, but look at the time. Only 20 seconds here. How much use is MKing going to be able to get out of this position is a big question right now. It looks like a bad flash, but he's able to get the kill anyway. There goes Drunks, looking for another angle by the big bar. PX going to put one on to VNX, and control of cocktail is well in hand for Immortals, but they got so little time. And 2 versus 2, the plant's starting to go down. It's all on Cyber to hold on to this angle, and he will be successful in getting 1, but can he get 2? The plant's down, and a denial from Intact, though delayed, will come out. INTZ managed to barely win the round, and for a second there, it looked like the plant would go down right in front of Intact Smoke, but not the case.
Now, keep in mind that you can rotate on over towards the balconies through both ways just by the bar and cocktail. You can get on over to the Red Stairs balcony. You can get on over to the cocktail balcony, cigar or cocktail balcony as they're referred to as. It's very easy to do. You just need to punch a couple of the railings out, and then you can rotate on over, and you saw it in full action there as INTZ took advantage of it, and because of the wall being in that place, Cyber did not have a line of sight on where the smoke was coming from, and possibly you could have had the Capitale of Cyber repel on in, because then you would have put the smoke in a position where, okay, you have to take the fight against the Capitale, who is now advancing on your position and has better coverage of the Thermite, or the Thermite is going to get away with it and then pop up and kill you. So a tough decision to make from Immortals there, and they ended up making the wrong call despite it being a 2v1, essentially a glorified 1v1, because the Thermite was on the very final second of getting that diffuser down and is incredibly vulnerable while doing so.
I think it mostly comes down to how much time was wasted by INTZ and Immortals. They just didn't have the assertiveness to take that round. We saw the Thermite of MKing spend a solid 40 seconds just chilling on the cocktail balcony, just waiting for an opportunity to make a push. But he waited too long. And it ended up costing him and his team. It was a nice try, though, from Immortals. Surely, better try, and a nice hold from INTZ. The top floor is the typical first bomb site, for most teams, and it has. I say typical. We're still very new in this map's lifespan, and that is definitely something that could easily change moving forward. Now, Immortals could be attacking into Kitchen following their failure to attack the top floor. Some teams like to go to those second floor bomb sites as a second, for their secondary site, but some teams will go straight to the Kitchen. It really is preference at this point. I don't think we've had a refined meta on that one just yet. Seeing the tracks go down here, and a Maestro Evil Eye will zap Navi's. I think that's what happened. Just not sure where from.
There's a great opportunity to get those track stingers down and cut off such a huge portion of this site, because you don't need to commit too much. You just need to open up one window, throw down the track stingers, and it makes it a challenge, a great challenge for the defenders to retake.
A little bit of frustration on the side of Cyber there. There is a sledge in play, but he is on, I believe, the other side of the map, so not going to be really a great opportunity to get that Maestro Evil Eye just yet. And there's a slow going here for Immortals. They have control of Bakery, but it's not really giving them very much. This is an interesting angle being used from VNX. That's actually, I think that's going to hold on to the Kitchen entrance from Bakery, maybe. Yeah, where he's looking right now. If that is holding on to that, and I'm not entirely sure, then that's a very powerful angle, and one that you can expect to see used more often.
Haven't seen exactly a lot of three-story play. I think the last time we really saw it at full advantage was a couple of plays on Chalet when it was still back in the map pool. You'd have somebody play up an office and would look all the way down towards the wine cellar wall.
Mm-hmm. It does seem to be very relevant here for INTZ on this round.
PX is going to be in a fight to the death against Duds, and he'll win it out, but whether he knows that he has the information, well, it'll be Bullet there as three members of Immortals actually, up top inside of Mining and Train. But now goes Bullet to Intact. Navi's refrags. From above, they're going to have all these holes that were opened up at their disposal, but keep in mind, VNX is still over top of that hatch. Immortals might not be aware of this. Strunks down below will take out the members of IMT who are looking to push on in towards the site. You have a firebolt go off, and that'll stop them. They'll stop some of INTZ in their tracks as Immortals will now reposition themselves. anticipating and holding an angle here, as Immortals will have to confront the fact that they're running out of an awful lot of time. Smoke's going out to cut everything off with the track stingers too. Utility deprived is Navi's as M-King guns down Boar, waiting for VNX to join the party. But amidst the smoke, oh, he'll drop the thermite. M-King is downed and blindly Drunks is firing in. If they can capitalize on the gridlock, who will now go for the plant. Completely exposed, stops for a second, falls off the plant, looks on up, knows that time is at their advantage for INTZ. All VNX needs to do is wait, and he has everything going for him. Could have collected the kill on the thermite, but as a show of good faith, he'll give it to Drunks. And VNX, because the timer's at 0, knows that there isn't too much for Immortals to do. INTZ will rush on in, and that's 2 in a row for them on defense.
Here we go, INTZ. I love the setups that they've been bringing us on Cafe. Lack of control in the first round when it comes to the cocktail balcony, but they made it work in the end, thanks to Immortals taking way too long to commence their assault. In this case, the way that INTZ played their off-site game was very impressive. I love the angles that they were establishing to hold on to certain hot spots, and it did trip up Immortals quite substantially. So because Immortals was not allowed to use the avenues that they wanted to throughout the majority of that round, it was hard for them to adjust. And they eventually did, but again, a little bit late. And the spray there from the Maestro through the smoke, I mean, okay, it's not necessarily as much as it is, yes, an impressive play from Drunks to spray through the smoke to get that control back in his team's favor. It also mostly comes down to Immortals. I mean, what was that smoke? What were they trying to cover? It's a very small hallway. It's a bottleneck. You cannot necessarily always plant in a bottleneck unless you have some kind of crossfire. You need some other way to deny the defenders shooting you as you go for the plant, other than just visual blockage in that smoke. So definitely, I think, a misplay by Immortals. Their adjustment came too late in the round, and it was a very one-dimensional execution. So good job to INTZ there, not tripping themselves up and just locking out that round that they set themselves up to win.
I don't know if Immortals ever knew if VNX was on that third floor. I mean, I think they thought it because you had one member from Immortals continuously looking at the hatch, possibly expecting somebody to drop, but VNX never took that bait, and the patience on his part ends up becoming the reason why INTZ is able to stick the landing at the very end, because when you're out of time, you have to go for the plant or else you lose the round anyway. So whether the gridlock fell off the plant or not, it still would have gone in favor of INTZ. So Immortals, while you're able to take control of that second floor, you have to do a better job of figuring out if anybody else is above it. Could have been good drone denial. Who knows what information was available for them if the drones couldn't have been able to be utilized in the correct ways. So with that said, you have to go somewhere else. A lot of teams going with this reading room bomb site, and it appears to be the favored son in comparison to the old mining/dining hall or fireplace as it's referred to as site.
Yeah. It definitely is a site that teams are starting to be more comfortable with and starting to bring more often. And the way that INTZ is setting it up is for, again, that vertical play, holding the top floor. And this has been very successful against what Immortals have been bringing on attack, because Immortals' attacks have been very slow. Because of that, free kill. Yes, indeed. There goes Drunks. Good read from Navi. Sees an opponent on drone and, well, takes the opportunity to eliminate him. And that's a really good one to have early on, the Maestro, but it will be in exchange for your sledge. So, down goes Bullet and M-King as Duds, playing by the White Hallway, will take down the M-King himself. And that's INTZ putting themselves up one man early on. And I say early, I mean 2 minutes in, but still, relative to the rest of the action we've been seeing throughout this match, decently early.
Navi's trying to draw somebody out towards the bar back storage, holding the angle from the skylight above. Throwing down a track stinger, and then of course a smoke too, just to maybe try and will them or compel them to push in that way. Instead he's got Cyber now looking over towards White Stairs. And there's just nobody. Nobody to confront any members of Immortals, who once again will find themselves losing some important tools. That was the hard breacher, keep in mind, of M-King, who went down, as you'd noted just a couple seconds ago.
This round seems to be really in hand for INTZ. They have been in control for the entirety of these defenses, and it seems like Immortals are always on the back foot. The question is, when are they going to be able to assert some dominance here? This is really impressive stuff from INTZ so far, and I have to say, with that kill from Boar onto PX, it's looking a lot like this actually could turn out to be truly the match of the day.
You know that the pulse downstairs of Boar is going to need to get back through another area as he cannot walk all the way up brown stairs. Duds! What a miraculous play! He's going to take out Cyber for his troubles on a beautiful shot as he gunned down the gridlock below. I don't think he knew where the Capitao was, and an instinctive flick onto the head of the Capitao, and it will give INTZ their 3rd round in a row here on Cafe.
That right there is just asserting dominance, not allowing your opponent to take 3rd floor. Then just as Immortals starts to establish full control on the top floor, retake it. Retake it. Don't let them get their feet on the ground. Just push Immortals to the brink of destruction. It seems like right now that's what's happening here, because INTZ have taken 3 rounds in a row confidently, and Immortals are really struggling on these attacks. And boy, oh boy, is this a different kind of INTZ that we're seeing here today, where they couldn't get a single round in the first week against Team 1. They are now seemingly in stride against Immortals of all teams. Really impressive to see from INTZ, and it's, well, I'm happy that they're proving themselves here and today. Question is, how long is it going to last? Because we will be switching over, of course, to INTZ on attack later on, and that can change things. Right now, Cafe is technically a new map, and it has been discussed many times, has been said many times that new maps typically will favor the the defending team for the beginning of their lifespan. And yeah, it's not going to be terribly surprising that that is the case right here. Now, also, INTZ, their setups are very thorough on defense. The way that they've been holding on to these angles, their prep phase setup, it is well thought out and well executed, and you really got to give INTZ credit for that. So it's another thing that Immortals have to contest with.
So I like the tools that INTZ are now bringing. They're bringing a Mozzie in place before, and we've seen him played a couple times on Cocktail. Usually they're using those pest launchers somewhere over towards the red drop so that anything that comes down the hatches, well, you're not going to have a lot of time to possibly deal with the drones there. Duds was going for a jump out, but great play upside down from Cyber to dissuade him as he shoots through the window, and that's the spot given away from the Jaeger inside of Piano. That could have been a dive from the top ropes, able to swat away some various members of Immortals on that 2nd floor balcony. He might be able to get back there if the Capitao has fallen off of Cyber, but he appears to be holding static for the time being. The Capitao just sitting there waiting patiently, and that great patience might be rewarded if Duds decides to take a chance, and a chance that would likely end with INTZ losing one of their important members.
King trying to open up that Pino wall, and he will be successful, but it'll cost him his life. Duds from Pixel will take down the Thermite. Beautiful headshot there on a long angle. And after that, INTZ is going to get another one onto Navi's intact, getting a kill all the way from Cocktail. And it looks like, again, INTZ is in full control of these defensive rounds. Immortals not able to put anything together.
And it's hard to also underscore how important Navi's is to staying alive, because you look at him, and he's always consistently leading the pack when it comes to Immortals. This team has been dominated by Cyber and Navi's doing exceptional work on attack and defense. These are the 2 guys that you're anticipating will be able to lead your team forward. And by losing Gridlock, not just the utility, but the fact that it's Navi sitting on the sidelines, it means that your traditional support-oriented players will have to do more work on the scoreboard, which they always haven't been able to do, and means that Cyber in Capitao, who is too valuable a target to be one of the entries now in a 3v5, will be tasked with, I suppose, holding as much of it together as he can. I don't know if that grenade actually worked on the Evil Eye Cam or not. Intact inside of this bar back storage, still has 2 more gas canisters to throw down. 40 seconds left as Immortals finding themselves transitioning from the red hatch over through Piano. They have the corridor leading to the top of White Stairs, but they are, for the time being, sequestered in a part of the map where things aren't really working out so well for them. And all it is just a waiting game for the time being for INTZ. They don't need to take any fights, even though Intact will. Both he and Cyber will chew some words between one another. Waiting for Immortals now push on over through the side of the cigar balcony. Lots of utility going out, and this asphyxiating bullets will stop Drunks, but he and Intact there to do their damnedest. Leading bullet to just twist in the wind, and a flawless round from INTZ will come out, who are, right now, absolutely unstoppable. 4 rounds for INTZ for the time being. They're winning it on every single step of the way. Great opening and great follow-through through the mid-round. Immortals have no answers.
Yeah, and the thing is, these rounds haven't even been close except for the very first. That was the clutch that we saw from INTZ. But it definitely hasn't been a great story on the side of Immortals to be sure. Every time they establish a little bit of control, they get punished for it. And when they go for those executions, they always have such a man disadvantage that they can't recover, they can't refrag. It just looks so desperate. In that last round, they had, for example, the Capitao on flank watch for a decent chunk of the round because, I mean, they had to have somebody there, and he only started to come into the actual attack in the, you know, the moment where it's like, okay, if they flank us, whatever. We don't have time to worry about that. We have to execute onto the site now. And overall, I'd say the Immortals aren't using their tools exceptionally well. That's important to note, and they aren't bringing the right tools for the job. A good example is the Maestro Evil Eyes persisted through that round despite the nades. The one on the pillar just underneath the skylight drop might have been dispatched, but the one that was sitting on the cocktail balcony certainly was not. The nade that we saw Bullet try to throw that far was cooked far too long. It detonated mid-air. Didn't make it all the way to the Evil Eye. And what's your solution in that situation? Bring an Ashe, bring a Zofia, someone who's, you know, actually really good at dealing with those Evil Eyes in that situation. So the proper utility not being brought by Immortals is certainly a factor, though it isn't really why they're losing. To be honest with you guys, INTZ are just taking fights and winning them on very, very common angles. And I say common angles. That might be what is tripping up Immortals, because there are technically no common angles as of yet on this map. It is still all being figured out. And it definitely seems, and this is for sure, it definitely seems like INTZ have well-practiced Cafe. So one AUG beats out another. I mean, F90 is not named AUG in game, an AUG in game, but you know what I'm saying. And it's going to be INTZ who are finally on the back foot, though just by one player. And it was Bohr who was playing way too aggressive over by Bakery. Yeah, that's the type of aggressive play that you usually see if there's an ACOG on the board for the gun, but not in this case with the AUG. And wow. That's a good opening gambit. Navi's doing exactly the same thing he did before. He takes the side Bakery, throws down the track stingers, then he's able to do some great work with it in terms of his fragging potential. The Electric Claws will still hang out for the time being, and you don't see Immortals running any kind of anti-gadget other than the IQ. There's no Twitch that you have to worry about. There's no Thatcher because he got banned by INTZ all along, and I suspect that that's a big reason why INTZ has been running Bandit and Mute as reliably as they have alongside the Kaid. He's waiting for a good call, but the sledge is right over top. Is he going to get it at any point? Oh, wow. That's hard to watch, but it works. Get it. Oh, intact catching Bullet. A perfect play. And the sledge is shut down, Bullet having no idea what ripped through him at that exact moment. So the cue that the Bandit was waiting for was the sledge, and I'm guessing it's because he saw the sledge start to open there the last time INTZ defended on Kitchen. So good job on the patience, but oh wow, was it the suspense, pardon, was real. INTZ now have equalized. They've brought it to a 4-on-4. They are sitting pretty. They still have some roamers, and they are, I mean, they're not really feeling very pressured by Immortals. You could tell by the way that Immortals are attacking. They haven't really established much control. They've got Bakery, and they've got the main lobby. But with that, what can you really do? Trying to stop any INTZ push from Bakery. Here's the head, emerges for just a second. What appears to be the Thermite of M-King, daring Drunks to take the engagement, as Drunks will let his position be known before finding some cover. And he'll pop right up. He finds Cyber taking a little bit of damage from the fire, as now Drunks will continue to move on over, waiting to see if the Thermite will push on in. You've still got VNX upstairs, as before. He's not going to be needed, though, as Duds and Intact will clean up INTZ. Just clobbering Immortals. This is INTZ doing their best Team 1 impression from the very first play day, and it's 5-0 with Immortals looking listless and unable to put anything together. I mean, the way that this is going right now, it's very, very possible that we will actually see INTZ get that 7-0. I mean, these defenses are very much in hand for INTZ. I don't think Immortals has any kind of serious plan that is going to get them out of this funk on the attacking side. So that's good. Well done to INTZ. They've practiced this map very well. You could see that in their defense setups, and they are proving themselves here today. Like I talked about earlier, you know, I mean, INTZ is a team that has a lot of potential. They've got a lot of promise, and they can be one of those super teams given enough time. But their track record hasn't been great. Last season wasn't good to them. The first match of this season wasn't good to them. And, you know, we've all kind of just been waiting for a long time for INTZ to start to show us what we all know they're capable of, and maybe this is the turnaround point. Maybe this is where they start really, coming into their own and proving themselves. Who knows? Or it could just be one-time thing. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, we've been talking about that with a lot of teams. It's still early in the season, so we're waiting to find out. 92 Dream Team in North America is another one of those teams. Everyone's waiting to find out. Are they going to be the team that everyone thinks that they're capable of being? Who knows? We'll wait and see. But for right now, INTZ, here and now, in this moment, they're looking good. They're up 5-0, and Immortals just wow. Immortals have not had anything to show us so far through this match.
It must be frustrating in getting to them, I'd imagine, because this scoreline isn't indicative of the skill that Immortals has as a team, but yeah, it certainly does appear that they're being outfoxed by the operator bans, and they weren't particularly comfortable going to this map. But I mean, the fact that INTZ feels comfortable enough to possibly go for spawn peaks or runouts or jump outs just really goes to show you how good they could be. It looks like Duds might be able to catch one on a wire here if he goes for broke. There's 2 bodies down below. You just got to wait. You got a pulse on the board. What is Boar doing? Does he have the cardiac sensor out? No, he does not for the time being, so...
You want him to have it out. You want him to call for the jump out from Duds.
I mean, it doesn't trouble me which team wins here. I think it's exciting, and I want just a good showing, but now Cyber's going to continue to back on up and could find himself with his posterior inside of Duds. Spend the next 2 minutes of the round reloading that LMG, and Duds still could go for anything if he really wants to. It's the very final defense for INTZ, and they'll start things off well by taking Navi's again out of action. It bodes so poorly for Immortals when one of their best players in their entry is consistently losing his gunfights, and that's been Navi's all game so far.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been talking about INTZ a lot, and the reason is because INTZ are no way they didn't bring any destruction for this. No, there's Sophia's right there. Maybe trying to...
I think they might
try to get a kill?
You can open it with that. Well, no. So in Terrorist Hunt, you can actually open it quite effectively with Capitão's LMG.
But I mean...
that doesn't work in actual play.
I haven't investigated that, but why not Sophia? She's right there. Just... Well, whatever.
It's not like there's not a lot of ammunition that Capitão has, right?
Fair enough. A lot of operators have... Most operators. Anyway, here and now, Duds going to get an angle on a PX and a beautiful shot there, but he will be refragged by bullets. So here we go. Immortals showing a little bit of teeth, and it's very late in the round. They actually just got into the building, by the way. 50 seconds left.
Yeah, it seemed like any push they had got dislodged when Navi's went down, and I think they're going to lack as much information as you'd expect from them. Drunks will push on up. This is very aggressive, losing the fight to Cyber as Cyber dances up and down, but he's got VNX right next to Drunks to finish that one off. A 1v3 with Immortals in danger of being swept through this round. It was INTZ who got swept last time, INTZ, by Team 1. And it's sure looking that way for Immortals for the time being. MKing's position given away by the fact that he stepped on a goo mine, and he will aggress up towards the Legion, or up towards the Mozzie, my apologies there. Looking to see if he can get the Mozzie. He's got 2 down. Boar is also felled, but Intact just needs to hang on for the time being. And MKing, though he has a diffuser, might as well be miles away from the site. An anticlimactic end, a good effort from MKing, but that's a perfect half for INTZ. Because of this, they'll be on match point for the remainder of this matchup. They may even send us home early. Immortals will start their stead on defense.
All right, INTZ. Jeez, they want an answer back for their 7-0 from the last week, and they're very close to getting that. This very easily could, though, be a reverse sweep here from Immortals into a draw. Of course, we did talk about how the defense is the favorite side on Cafe, and it will be that way for a while. However, with the way that Immortals have been playing today, I don't think so. They really haven't... I mean, Immortals haven't shown us anything. I was trying to say it earlier, but I got distracted by INTZ destroying Immortals. I've been talking about INTZ a lot through this match, and it's because Immortals haven't really been doing much worth talking about. And there hasn't been any moment where I'm like, hey, Immortals, look at this thing that they're doing. Most of the time, they linger and languish out of the map, then eventually they get into the building and start dying to INTZ. basic pushes, maybe due to lack of droning, maybe due to lack of teamwork on, certainly a lack of refrags has been a big story for Immortals because they lose so many players early on that they don't have the manpower to refrag. But it just seems like Immortals are playing as a group of individuals rather than a team right now. I don't know what's causing that. It isn't something that they don't always, you don't expect them to do that, but certainly the case right now. INTZ, on the other hand, their setups on defense were so well thought out, and their positioning was excellent. Now the question is, will they have the same kind of potency now that they've switched over to attack? One thing that is very clear to me, it's exceedingly obvious, is that INTZ has practiced Cafe more than Immortals. Like, way, way more.
The other question has to be who was droning in Navi's. Was he going in on his own? How was that happening? Because he's not the kind of player who loses engagements that frequently on either attack or defense. He's had some of the best stats in Latin America for a number of different seasons, and he's not somebody who's just going to disappear, especially against a team like INTZ, who, on paper, really shouldn't be the team giving you this much trouble in comparison to the other opposition that Immortals has seemingly, stuck even with.
I mean, at the same time, we've been seeing a lot of that in all various different regions.
Right. I mean, it's unpredictable, so to speak, and because of this, oh, what a beautiful play by Cyber. He guns down Intag, looking for another, but traded off immediately. He went for a little bit too much.
That's a little bit greedy there, but he did manage to take out the Capitao, so technically that's a very good exchange for Immortals. As Jaeger's already put his utility down. Duds, though, on that South Rappel is going to eliminate Bullet, so INTZ getting close there to the perfect match.
Won't be a perfect round, though, as they've lost Intact, and once again, your first set of smokes. Navi's finds Duds. You can hear that shotgun putting in an awful lot of work. A scratch on the paint of the hood of Navi's, but that's it. And he's going to at least win one gun duel to start. Boar enters, and he takes down PX. That must have been well calculated between them.
Every time Immortals seem to get some even ground with INTZ starts to fire back and get a kill out of nowhere. First it was Duds on Rappel, now it's Boar coming into Piano. I mean, this is just looking good for INTZ.
You got the smoke of M-King playing very deep back, and now Navi's inside of the back storage room, just behind the bar waiting. M-King's with the SMG-11 will have to try to control that unwieldy recoil. He doesn't really know where, for the time being, INTZ is pushing from. I don't think INTZ knows either. A lot of teams struggle to translate from over towards the red stairs. They'll burn the ADSs as now INTZ try to push on in towards the back bar storage. All of the destruction coming out from Drunks with 30 seconds left to go, and the absolute mayhem that is going to ensue. But it's down to one person. Navi's gunned down, and INTZ falling 7-0. Last play day, and they're going to repay the favor by giving it to Immortals, a 7-0 for INTZ. As you see, flawless.
So, I mean, I didn't see that coming. We didn't know. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Certainly, INTZ has the potential, but for it to awaken so abruptly, truly impressive. Again, it's clear to me, and I think it should be clear to everyone at this point, that INTZ put in a ridiculous amount of work on Cafe. That's pretty obvious. Immortals, on the other hand, didn't look very practiced on the map. They looked a little all over the... Well, not a little. They were very much all over the place, that's all I like to say. And the big thing to me is that there was little to no teamwork showing up on the side of Immortals. It was being almost broadcasted that they weren't working with each other. And that's a little bit odd. Something I think is going on with Immortals right now. Don't know what it is. Can only speculate. But yeah, better for INTZ, I suppose. And cool that INTZ get an answer back for their flawless loss in the first play day. Now a flawless victory in the second play day. That's good for them.
And Immortals with by far and away that hands-on favor. What was it? You said 12% of the community vote, I believe.
It was 12, yeah, and 79.
12% to 79%, and it wasn't even remotely close. It was an absolute blowout. The second most dominant matchup that we've seen so far. And I mean, what it allows us to do is get ready for matchup number 3. Red Devils versus FaZe Clan as the second half of our play day. We'll be here in just a couple minutes. Go stretch your legs. We'll throw to a break.